Hello, and welcome to the second video on solving quadratic equations. So remember that we said that we were going to take a formula like 3x squared minus 21x. It was going to be set equal to 0. And we were going to do some manipulating here so that we got some things in parentheses. Then we set each of those parentheses equal to 0. And then we solve for what our potential answers are. So we're going to learn the first way to do that, and it is called sucking stuff out. I'm sure there's a fancier name for it somewhere, but I think of it as a little vacuum cleaner that just sucks things out. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to look at the terms on my side of the equation, and I'm going to see if there's anything in common in those two terms. In other words, is there like a common factor, a number that goes into both of them? And in this case, I can see that both 3 and negative 21 are divisible by 3. So I could suck out a 3. But furthermore, there's also an x in each term, so I can suck out an x. Now I can't suck out an x squared because I don't have an x squared over here, but I do have one x. So I'm going to suck out a 3x, and what is that going to leave me with? Well, here's my 3, here's my x, so I just have an x left over here, because 3x times x would give me 3x squared. And then over here, if I sucked out a 3 from the negative 21, that would leave me with a negative 7. And I sucked an x out of the x, so I'm done. This is my new formula. I sucked out the 3x, leaving me with an x plus a negative 7. Now, just like we learned in our previous video about solving quadratic equations, one of these, either 3x or x minus 7, has to be equal to 0. So either 3x equals 0 or x minus 7 equals 0, right? Don't be confused, I just changed my plus and negative into a minus 7. Okay, so to solve, I would divide both sides here by 3. 0 divided by 3 is still 0. So x equals 0, or if I add a 7 to either side to get x by itself, that gives me x equals 7. So those are the two answers to this problem. It was all accomplished just by recognizing that 3x was in both of those terms. Let's do another one. Let's do, let's do this one. Let's do 6x plus 8y. And in this case, I'm not having it set to 0. Sometimes the problems that you have say solve, and that means that there's going to be an equal sign over here. Sometimes it just says factor, which means there is no equal sign. You're just going to try to make this look as pretty as possible. So let's just factor this. So we need a number or a variable that goes into both of these terms. And the answer is, of course, 2. I can suck out a 2, leaving me with 3x here, because 6x sucking out a 2 leaves me 3x. And here, 8y sucking out a 2 leaves me 4y. I have now factored this as far as I can. If I had more information, like if it were set equal to something, then I could maybe do something else. But that's all I can do here. Okay, let's try another one. Let's say that we are going to do 13x squared minus 26x plus 13. And we're going to not have that set equal to anything. We're just told to factor. Factor. That means make it look pretty. Okay, so I look here and I'm seeing some big numbers which do not make me happy. But I can tell that there's a relationship between 13 and 26, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to suck a 13 out. Here's my 13 that I'm sucking out. And that leaves me with x squared minus 13 into 26 is 2x, and 13 goes into 13 one time. There, I have now factored. Now this is another quadratic equation, but you can see that there's nothing here that I can suck out, and so I don't know how to do it yet. You're going to have to wait for a later video. Okay, let's do another one. So let's try 36y squared minus 36, and this time we're going to set it equal to 0. So what can we suck out? Well, of course, we can suck out the 36. So that's going to be 36 times, what do we have left here? We have a y squared, and we have nothing. Oh, no, we don't have nothing. We have a 1, right? Because it's 36 times negative 1 that makes negative 36. Now we have that equal to 0. Now again, we have another quadratic here. But again, you're going to have to wait for a later video to figure out what to do with it. So right now, this is about as far as we can go. We've sucked out the 36. Now you might be asking yourself, well, how do I know if I'm going to suck stuff out? And the answer is that you don't know for sure. I mean, these types of problems are like doing the New York Times crossword puzzle. You kind of have an idea of where you're going, but you might have to try a few things and see what works for you. But for right now, for this video, and for the Your Turn to Play that you're about to do, really all you need to do is concentrate on sucking things out. Please pay attention, because here you'll see that not only do we have a 5 in common, right? Both of these numbers are divisible by 5, but we also have an m in each term. And generally speaking, you're going to want to suck out as much as possible. So let's suck out not just a 5, but a 5m, leaving us with one m left over here, plus a 3, because 5 goes into 15 3 times. My m was already taken care of, equals 0. You know what? I'm just going to show you. Look over here. 5m times m plus 3. I just want us to do this math so that you can see what we're doing. 5m times m is 5m squared. And 5m times 3 is 15m. Do you see how this is where we started? Yeah, it's the same, right? So all we're doing is we're breaking this down in a different way. We could always go back to the original if we wanted to, just by doing the opposite math. But generally speaking, sucking things out is going to work out pretty well for you. And now we don't have another quadratic here, so we can actually solve this. We know that either 5m or m plus 3 is going to have to equal 0. So I'm going to say 5m equals 0 or m plus 3 equals 0. That means that m equals 0, or it means that m equals negative 3, right? Because if you pretend I subtracted 3 from either side, m equals negative 3. Those are both legitimate answers to this problem. Okay, now before I let you go, there's one more situation that I want to show you with sucking stuff out, and that looks like this. Let's say that we have this problem. Negative 2x squared plus 12x minus 14. I know how excited you are to see that negative sign there. Okay, so looking here at these numbers, is there a number that you can pull out? And the answer is yes, you can pull out a 2, or you could pull out a negative 2. And generally speaking, you want this quadratic term here to be positive. So if we pull out a negative 2, then our quadratic becomes a positive 2x, and that's what we want. If we had pulled out just a regular 2, a positive 2, then we would have had a negative 2x in here, because we need to have one of these positive and one of these negative in order to make that negative. So 12x divided by negative 2 is going to give us a negative 6x. And this is going to be negative 14 divided by negative 2 will give us a 7. So again, we have two negatives, make a positive. And so that is how we suck out a negative number. Makes me feel like I should do one more with you. I didn't plan this one, so give me just a second to think about it. I will say a negative 4x squared plus 20x plus 16. Okay? So what are we going to suck out? Are we going to suck out a 4 or a negative 4? We're going to suck out the negative 4. And what does that leave us with? Well, that leaves us with x squared and a negative 5x. It has to be two negatives so that we can wind up with a positive. And then we need a negative 4 because these two multiplied together need to equal a positive number. So once again, you're really going to have to pay attention to your negative signs because I know this isn't going to be much of a surprise to you, but if you forget a negative sign, you're going to get the problem wrong. All right, so pay attention to those little things and don't let them get away from you.